Hey, welcome to Maximum Bat Speed. I want to do a video here to help you work with your child, to help you to work with your players, whoever you're working with. I really believe this video is going to help you tremendously to minimize movement in your player's swing. Many times when I'm working with students, what I'm always doing, I'm having to simplify everything. I'm having to quiet the body down. I'm having to add less frames to their swing. Most players at the setup, as they get into the gather, to the apex of the gather, there's just far too much movement going on, therefore not allowing you to see the ball coming in as well. Adding extra frames also creates so much extra problems because you're always playing catch up, and especially as you get to elite levels, you're going to struggle tremendously with your swing if you add too many extra frames to your swing. So let's get started here. Now the first thing I want to show you here with this player here is this, and this is what I highly recommend. Now you can see here how nicely balanced she is. Look, we start from the lower body right here, and you can see right here, very nice symmetry right here with her body. You can see that her back foot's pointing straight ahead. In other words, it's not flared open, what you see in a lot of lower players. This is beautiful right here with the setup right here. And one way to check this, watch where her back foot is, and if I draw a line right here where the home plate is right here, you can see that her back foot is pretty close to that. Now this is not direct opposite side batter spots view, but you can see here that her back foot is pointing straight ahead. Another thing you want to make sure is that the knees are inside of the ankle. You can see here it's very obvious with this player right here that the knees are inside of the ankle. You want to make sure you have a tall upper body right here. In other words, you don't want to be slouched over. You don't want to have any kind of curvature in your back. You want to pretty much be just how this young lady is right here. Another thing that you want to make sure when you're working on with your players, when you're working with the setup, this is something I always do with my students and might make it a little easier for you. If you go from the shoulders going all the way down, I'd like to see that the students that I'm working with, that the knees are outside of the shoulders and the feet are, the knees outside of the shoulders and that the feet are outside of the knees. And you can see right here with this young lady right here, she looks very nicely set up. Now another thing that I would highly recommend when you're working with whoever you're working with, just tell them to keep in-step pressure, make sure all the weight is inside of the ankle, inside of the inner thigh. So in other words, if you were to just draw a line right here from the middle of the leg going down, you want everything inside of those yellow lines on her legs right there. You do not want any weight to be outside of that, okay? Now from there, what I would recommend for you to do is just tell the player, okay, just get ready to hit, get into the gather, and now watch what's going on right here. And I'm just going to draw a line for you right here, what's going on with this young lady here. Now I'm going to draw a line right here where her torso is. And I'm also going to draw a little box right here where the back of her hip is right here. You're going to see just that little box right there, okay? Now watch what's going on right here. As she starts to get into her gather, watch how the minimal movement her body has as she gets into that back hip socket. See how little her body moved right there? Hardly anything at all. Many times what I see with younger players or less experienced players, they tend to get into this great overload. In other words, what happens is once they reach the apex of the gather, and pretty much this is the apex of the gather, you can see how this young lady's torso now, she has shifted her weight back into her back hip socket. That's why now the line is moved over about an inch or so back, okay? But what usually happens at lower level players, they start to get into this move where the torso starts to move down kind of this way. Therefore, what it does, instead of having the hands where you see where this young lady has them, so I'll just draw a circle right now at the apex of the gather. Her hands are right here right now, which just is a beautiful place for them to be. So in other words, when the torso bends to the side like I did with that line that's left of her body right there, that brings the hands way over here, okay? Therefore, what happens is you get the hands and they get way beyond the back foot. This is one of the most common things that I see at lower levels. That is why you must keep the gather very simple. You must keep it very quiet. Now watch what's going on right here. Again, she just lifts her leg, gets into that back hip socket. You can see how she's shifting back into that back hip socket. See how it's a very slight shift, a very slight shift. And then once you get to this point right here, she's at the apex of the gather. What you will see with elite players is if I draw a line, just like I did earlier, you will still see the integrity of the back leg. The way the leg started is pretty much going to stay almost exactly the same, and you're going to see going down from the knee going down, you're going to see there's going to be a gap between her knee and her ankle. This is what you want with your students, because what a lot of players do is the knee shifts all the way over here, okay? So in other words, if I draw a line going straight down, the knee would be way over here, or have kind of a look like this. This is what I'm referring to when I'm saying that players that just have too many extra frames, that is going to create problems. And what that does, when players get the back knee over the back foot, instead of the body kind of working in a downward manner, the body ends up working kind of in an upward manner, and then it kind of drops down again, adding extra frames. This is what occurs when the back knee gets over the back foot. So by keeping it simple, again, get yourself into a nice setup and just keep it simple. A nice little shift into the back hip socket. And again, as you get into that back hip socket, from there, what you want to do next is leave the hands where they are. Again, she's at the apex of the gather. She's going to draw a little circle right there where her hands are. Watch what's going on from here. All she's doing is basically walking away from the hands. I talk about this in my videos all the time, going to about 60% of her height. Apex of the gather, about 60% of her height, leaves the hands right there, gives her tremendous torque, tremendous separation as she goes. And you can even see here as she gets into her heel plant. Notice how her back elbow, watch this very quickly here, and I'll just show you this just as a little bit extra information here. Again, she sets up, simply gets into that back hip socket, walks away from the hands, strides to about 60% of the height, and then from here, as she gets into her heel plant, watch how her back elbow stays back. Now, the reason her back elbow is not dropping, in other words, it's not sliding down. What happens with a lot of players at lower levels, as they get into their heel plant, the elbow starts to drop down like this, okay, down like this, and actually goes underneath the hands. That is so common. And you can also see here that her shoulders are still closed at heel plant, and in this young lady, her back elbow at this stage of the swing, again, is back here. This shows me she's getting tremendous torque, tremendous separation, and that all started with a great setup, and again, walking away from the hands to 60% of her height. Hope you like the video. I have a 2-hour and 45-minute video on my website, and I also have other videos on my YouTube channel. I hope you subscribe to my channel. Give me a like if you enjoyed the video, if you learned something. Again, keep it simple. Keep it very simple. Have a great day.